Good afternoon or morning, depending where you're joining us from. This is Patricia Levitt at the National Center for Families Learning, and we are so glad that you are joining us this Friday for our webinar, Going Deeper with Family Service Learning. This is hopefully going to be a very informative hour. We have three very special guests with us from some of our program partner sites. As I said, I'm Patricia Levitt. I'm a team leader for family learning here at the National Center for Families Learning. I particularly work with our Toyota Family Learning and NCFL Family Learning programs, and especially as kind of the professional development umbrella person across those programs, which is why you hear me on these webinars regularly. This is one way that we do provide some professional development opportunities to you, our partners, and or those who are just joining us for a one-time today. In the studio, I have Amanda Evans with me as well. Amanda is a family learning specialist here at NCFL, and I'll let her say a quick hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Evans, as Patricia said. I am the Family Learning Specialist here at NCFL. I primarily work on the FACE program, Family and Child Education. I'm just excited to be here. I've done quite a bit of family service learning with my own programming from my previous job, and I'm excited to hear our three speakers.
Great, and our three speakers are Rob Gallegos from Metropolitan State University in Denver, and I hope that Rob won't feel embarrassed for me to say that we all wish him congratulations and best wishes as he is joining us just before he gets married this weekend from a very busy time in his life, and we really appreciate him taking time out to do that. So Rob, thank you for being with us. We're also very excited to have Dr. Beverly Mathis from the Public Education Foundation in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Christina Mireles from Southwest Solutions in Detroit, Michigan. These are all partners that we have worked with really to bring family service learning to full implementation. And they're partners that we really chose for specific reasons because of really great examples that they're able to share of how they are going beyond surface level family engagement with family service learning, and they really are going deeper with family service learning. So before we hear from them today, Amanda and I will share a little bit about NCFL and family service learning, and then we'll get to those specific examples from our partners.
All right, so many of you are familiar with NCFL, but for those of us who are joining for the first time today, first of all, welcome. And secondly, NCFL, we work together to eradicate poverty through education solutions for families. We do this by working with programs such as yourselves through family learning, family engagement, and family literacy programming. How do we do that exactly is with the core competencies. That's what we call our work around here. The core competencies are intensive two-generation solutions, which again is supporting the work that all of you are doing out in the communities. We also provide professional development, such as these webinars, and ongoing professional development and technical assistance. We also reach out and work as advocates for the programming. We work on the state and national level to kind of bring light to the work that's being done, as well as to bring together some congressional resolutions around family service learning, and we're super excited about all that. As you can see here, we have quite a few partners that work with us, over 100 in cities throughout the nation, and we are extra happy to be getting a little bit of sunshine coming up in September here at our national conference down in Florida. We're really hoping to see some of you there.
Thank you, Amanda. At the National Center for Families Learning, we work broadly across a lot of different types of programs, but as I mentioned before, my work is specifically with our family learning grant programs in large part, and the theory of change that underlies that model is really where family service learning comes from, and is also, I think, foundational for understanding what the goal is and really being able, as I said before, to go deeper with family service learning. So the idea for this model and the theory of change really kind of begins with the parent. And you see in the graphic here, you see the mom sitting in the house, and she is really taking advantage of the opportunity to build toward her own goals. Whether those are educational, those are employment goals, those are goals simply to be a better parent for her child, which is usually one of the top goals that that bring people to our programs. That parent has the opportunity through parent time and through adult skill building really to build his or her skills and capacities to be a stronger support for the family. Additionally, the parent has a chance to really put into practice what he or she is learning through parent time by engaging with children in parent and child together, or packed time. And packed time really is an opportunity to follow the child's lead, to learn how to connect to your child around their interests, as well as to build opportunities for learning based on what you're doing separately as well as together through the program. Next, we see kind of through connections that happen in the program, through deliberately focusing on working together and building toward the fruition of projects, we see opportunities for families really to create change, to investigate their communities, to look for what they want to see changed, what would make their community better in their eyes, and to tackle that. And that family service learning that is kind of interwoven through this model is really the essential connector among the pieces of family learning. And the idea is that family members are really taking what they're learning in class, in the program, and they're putting that to practice for real purposes, real concrete solutions. The last graphic, though, is really what I think is the most powerful part of the overall theory of change here. As families are becoming stronger on their own, they're becoming stronger family units, they're engaging with others in their program cohort, and they're creating really amazing projects, and you'll hear about some of those today. They have an opportunity to engage others in the community as well, who we call non-enrolled participants. And this opportunity to go beyond just the program walls is really what can have transformative opportunities for the families in the program. They begin to engage others, to bring others into the program, to pull in legislators and to pull in community groups to help bring their projects to bear. And this really leads to what we call compounding change. And that compounding change is the big opportunity of family learning. Programs that are able to bring about change, two-generation change within a family, are phenomenal, and they do a great job. When we go even beyond that and we have the opportunity to transform a community, I think that's really where NCFL sees the power of family learning and family service learning. And so, as I said, we'll hear some examples of that today. But before we dig into hearing from our guests, Amanda is going to just overview the process for those of you who may not be familiar with family service learning.
All right, so what is family service learning? It's a process for families as well as community members to come together to learn and to serve. It's an effective method for youths for youths and adults to gain college and career readiness skills. So looking at that CTE framework that I'm sure many of our adult education teachers are familiar with, and kind of bringing that all in and wrapping it together. It's carefully planned and designed. It's a project that spans an adequate amount of time. And it's more than just those one-off, one-time volunteer experiences. It's diving much deeper into community issues and really working on it. So the 6-step process includes the investigation. First part of the investigation is to remember that all participants and their ideas need to be involved. This is including children. The investigation could be sparked from several different angles. Things that we see commonly are ideas around homelessness, so a need that's seen in a community. A lot of projects have been done with access to books, like those little free libraries, which is a topic that participants find interesting. looking at food insecurity or food deserts, a theme that's common among a lot of participants, and safety issues that individuals notice around their communities. For the next step, these planning and preparation, it's important again to remember to bring the children in, considering strengths of all of the participants. It's also important to consider how to leverage partnerships that you already have existing within your programming. It's also important to determine administrative needs, tools, and transportation needs for each of the individual projects. So each project is its own little microcosm and it needs the attention. Also, another really important step, and I would argue probably the most important part of planning and preparation, is determining the learning outcomes. What are participants, children, and adults going to walk away with once they've finished this project? The next step is the action step. Although probably the favorite of most people, it's not necessarily the most important. It's an opportunity to focus on skills and the knowledge that's being built throughout the entire process. And it's a chance to incorporate reflection while the experience is ongoing. Reflection. Reflection, as we just mentioned a few seconds ago in the action step, should be something that's taking part continually throughout the entire process, through all 6 steps. There should be an allowance for different means of reflecting. For example, if you have someone who's incredibly artistic and they would like to draw out their feelings and their thoughts, please encourage them to do so. If you have someone who has a keen eye for photography and wants to put a collage together, please encourage them to do that. It doesn't just have to be about writing thoughts. It can be any form of expression. Reflection should explore the service learning project, and again, focusing on how people feel and how their actions connect them to society, and again, most importantly, what they have learned. The demonstration and celebration comes after that great day of action. Participants have the opportunity to share what they've done with the larger community. So this includes partners, it includes community members, and it even includes people who are not necessarily there for the day of action. Be sure to invite people and get the word out as to what your community is doing. It can be formal or informal, and of course should involve all those who actually participated in the day of action as well. Sustainability is all about building strong and enduring partnerships. You can generate and leverage resources, and again, this connects back to the employability skills that your adults will be gaining. Make sure that they're talking to those connections. It's a great way to get a job. Identify and secure funding sources for the future. So again, thinking about how are we going to continue with this project? How are we going to keep going with what we've started? And institutionalizing service learning is an integral part of the process. All right, so I'd like to turn it over to Rob now, and we'd love to hear from you, Rob. Welcome.
All right, thanks, guys. So I wanted to talk about how Metro State University in Denver, our family literacy program, how we are experimenting with family service learning right now, and how we're bringing it to our students. And this year we've got an entirely new crop of students. We had to move to a different district, 2 different school districts and different outlying cities in Denver than we were in previously. So we chose to do a project that we had done previously. And so there were a couple challenges that we kind of were faced with. One was that in repeating a project, it has a little bit of a danger to be kind of a top-down approach instead of coming from student investigation. So we had to kind of think about how can we give the feeling of control back to the students and that they were the ones being the driving force with it. And then a second big obstacle that we have frequently with all of our projects is that we work with English language learners. And so that brings the very same catch-22 in that how much do we focus on that content versus it being kind of student driven. And so one thing we're really excited about this year is experimenting with project-based learning and having the different aspects of building up to the project be very student-centered approach in the class. And yeah, so here are kind of the reasons we have project-based learning. Service learning, first of all, kind of goes hand in hand with project-based learning. That third bullet there kind of explains it. Adults really respond to projects better than lecture-style classes. So this kind of learning assumes that adults already have their background knowledge in how the world works, and already have a vast array of different skills in the classroom that they can put to use. And so it kind of asks students to use their strengths to learn how to build different skills. And so we kind of use it as a backbone for the content. And this is nice too, because that gets our instructors out of the way, and then we don't have to feel like it's a top-down approach anymore. And it kind of builds from the students, from our learners again. Next slide, please. So here's kind of what we did. The first example was a culture project. So being in brand new schools and being in brand new districts, we wanted to have a way to thank our host institutions and to connect with the student body there. And so this was a great way to really get our footing in to start service learning through the community a little bit more. Kind of that kind of goes along with what Amanda was saying about sustainability and getting a good foundation so that you can continue working on different service learning projects. So this helped include the kids. It taught tolerance and celebrated differences. And so it was a way for people to celebrate differences in culture through throwing 3 different culture fairs in those host schools. So the way we brought project-based learning into it was through photojournalism. And it had a very different feel to it at first before we built up. So the investigation aspect kind of had a lot of experimenting in how to bring about the action step and try out many different ways before actually going into it. And it helped us build the content and the target language so that it could be ESL driven and have the target language kind of be the backbone. Next slide, please. So here's just an example of how we did that. The first step was to teach the target language. And so we used pictures with captions to be the photojournalism. Since the culture project was going to be filled with images and imagery in different objects and symbolism, we wanted to make sure students would be able to explain them at the culture fair. And so we went about it with pictures and captions as a way to do photojournalism. So we had to set up the distinction between verbs and action sentences versus adjectives and description sentences to be able to describe things. So I put together a little model of an adventure that showed how these 2 different styles of English sentences can kind of go hand in hand, but be very distinct at the same time. Next slide. So then the next step was to practice. We did our own in-class investigations into how pictures and captions together could tell a story. And on the left, you'll see this woman, our student, jumping on the trampoline. And this was part of a Thanksgiving break homework, which was to use these pictures and captions in a photojournalism style to just tell about their Thanksgiving break and what they did. And so this was one page from Anna, and she was talking about their midday activities on Thanksgiving Day. And then we went into, from there, moving over to working on finding symbols and explaining them through the photojournalism style to actually work on the culture fair. And so here we have an example of a page from our student Dalila, and she was talking about like the state animal in Sinaloa. And so you can see with each of these examples, there's a caption, there's a title, and there's an action sentence and a description sentence. So this was, again, just how we thought about how to bring the content to the action, so that it wasn't a lot of us instructors having to do too much guiding, and we could kind of step back after a little ways and let the students take charge. Next slide. So then here's how it kind of looked. The day of was nice because all we had to do was step back and just take pictures. And everyone already had a poster made. They had some cultural activities and a language activities. And we just had the fair inside the schools that were hosting us. And so the kids came and kind of rotated around the different stations and listened to our students. So we got to give back to our host institutions and kind of set a foundation for moving forward with more service learning projects. And you can see that our learners are pretty engaged with their audiences. And because they were able to practice it again and again with different students that were coming through, they had the benefit of that repetition to give them practice with the same target language and the opportunities to refine it each time. Next slide. So this was kind of the bonus things that we found with trying to combine project-based learning with family service learning. That repetition really helps reinforce that target language as they move towards the presentation or that actual action step, if it is a little bit more of an involved action step. So they've got multiple different chances to try out whatever the target language is, if you've got an ESL-based program, or even just try out smaller phases of an action step to see what successes they might have or how they might tweak it. It kind of helps real world usage. And so that's not so much in the action step. That's of course a real world usage, but all of our target language that we were going for, it got real world uses throughout each step as it moved toward that action step, because it was directly tied to the project, the service learning project being the end goal, but the project-based learning being that backbone. Another great thing with marrying these two things together is that the language is then tied to memory, so it gives life to language. And I talk about this with our learners all the time, that sometimes when you learn a new language, it kind of feels hollow, and so it's difficult to have those kind of trust moments where you're trusting the new vocabulary that you want to use. So this kind of, I think, really gives that life to the language, even before you move into the action step, so that students can confidently go into that. And then the kind of last bonus is we found that this is a much more student-driven approach than some of our previous family service learning things. Do I have a slide after this?
No, Rob, that is your last slide, but if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share, please feel free.
Okay. So again, this is kind of what we're experimenting with to start the service learning. So this is, I think, a really great tool for the investigation, the planning, and the action step part of that 6 sequence thing. So moving into discussing how it went, discussing what could be done in a different version, and then moving towards doing it again. These still have to be done. So this example really showed more so how to get things started and how to ensure that it's student driven from the start.
That was wonderful, Rob. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
No, I was just about to say, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed seeing the evolution of this project as you were explaining it, and it was really clear all of the different learning outcomes that your students were taking away. So I would like to encourage the attendees here today, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question box. Even if it's something that's coming up during the presentation, if there's a nice area where we can interrupt and pop those questions out, we'll gladly do so. Otherwise, the Q&A time will be at the very end. Alrighty, and up next we have Dr. Mathis.
Good morning or good afternoon, whichever is for you. And guys, I have to take the time to say congratulations to Rob. Oh man, you are the man. If you're with us right before the wedding, so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And I serve through the Public Education Foundation as Vice President for Literacy, Early Learning, and Family Engagement. But we also have coordinators in this program that just really are the forces of the work. So we have 2 coordinators that are with me this morning. What else? That's all. That's just what else? I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the Public Education Foundation serves through 11 elementary schools. So we are actually on those campuses every day, okay, working with families. I'm just glad that we're doing this morning and that we were asked to do it, so thank you very much. Our family service learning projects are deeper. They're much deeper than they were. And when I think of deeper, I think of the word, they're more impactful. We're making the difference in the lives of families. So I'm just going to talk quickly about how we select projects or what takes place. I'm just going to go by that way I can stay with you guys. I'm going to go as close to this screen as I can. So the very first thing that we do, we want you to know that all of our projects are driven, they're led by families, the students that are in our family engagement classrooms. We share as coordinators, we share, and I want you to put a line under the word few, F-E-W. We share few examples from past projects. The site coordinators share few examples, and the reason that we share only a few of them is why. We don't want families to just copy somebody else's idea because it seems or it sounds like an easy fix. We want to make sure that every school is unique in what they are doing, because whatever the project is, it is supposed to elevate the learning, and it is supposed to be a project that is unique to that school site, so that it will help parents and families within that school and community, okay? Then we investigate the needs of the school. That's when we are unique. We go to the very first thing that we do as the parent classes. We investigate what would be a good thing to do that would, when we leave, it will have impacted the school and the community. Okay, let me just, I have to put a pin in that part, because right now our project at Matt Kelly Elementary School, this is just to show how unique our projects are. The project at Matt Kelly Elementary School is the school is in the position, because it is the lowest school in Clark County School District. Keep in mind, Clark County School District is the 5th largest district in the nation, right? 5th largest. Matt Kelly Elementary School, one of our 11 schools, is the school that is ranked the lowest school out of 300 and so schools in Clark County. So the state of Nevada is thinking about possibly turning Matt Kelly Elementary School into a state school or into a charter school. So the whole community is basically in an uproar. But the principal, being proactive, came into our class, and she stated, and this was right as we are investigating and we're thinking of what can our parent group do to help the school. The principal was talking about the fact that she wanted to be able to present to the state of Nevada whenever or if ever they come to the school and say, so what are you guys doing? And how can you prove to us that you have the support of the parents and the community? So the principal was talking about a possible petition, written petition, but only with parents' names, no addresses, and all of that stuff that would scare parents or anybody else to put their name, to put their addresses and telephone numbers. But they did put, she talked about petitions, and before she left out of that meeting, our parents had, their biggie was, okay, we have to help because we love our school and we want the state of Nevada to know that we're in support of what is going to take place. And that what is going to take place was allow the school to remain as it is for at least one more year with data, pushing the issue, making sure students are learning, teachers are teaching, community is embracing the school, families embracing the school. Just allow the school to stay as it is. So what our parents decided to do, because they know that people will listen to them even before they will listen to administrators, even before they'll listen to other people within that community. Our parents decided that they would be the driving forces and they would attend all of the meetings that the principal has already planned. They would attend all of the after-school activities that the principal and school has already planned, and they will make sure that parents sign these petitions. Now, yes, they stated the statement that the principal had written for them, but they are, because we're doing it in the process now, they are the driving forces in those little meetings where you only find 2 or 3 parents. But they are the driving force because they've gone into the community and had the community to, have community people to sign. They keep the petitions, and on the weekends, they take them to their churches and to those little stores and other places right around the community or in the community. They talk about, and it's not but 10 of them, guys, but they're like a force, to be reckoned. But they take those petitions around, and whenever the state of Nevada comes and talks to the administration, well, when they ask the question, who supports this? Then she can be proactive and say, I have all of these names of parents and community people who are with me saying, let us have the time to show that we can actually do the work. So that's just an example, okay? And The next one is the one that just stated investigate needs of school and community. So that's an excellent way, because we got the idea from the administration, but the parents are doing the work. They're doing the leg work, okay? Then the next one just says invite administrators to visit and discuss immediate needs of schools. And that definitely would go with the one that I just talked about, because of the fact that administrators come through our session at all times, guys, once a week. But what we do is, we as coordinators, each week my administrators receive an email from me, and that email just simply says, thank you for coming through today. Really appreciate your support. Parents are working hard. They're running fast. And then I say, next week, we will welcome, whoever the speaker is going to be, or whatever it is. Next week, we will be talking first about what we have learned from being in the classrooms doing impact class time. I just let them know. I just heads up each week of what to expect the next week, even though, guys, they already have a calendar of events for the full week, for the full month, for the 32 weeks that we're going to be with their parents. They already have that, but I just always give them a little heads up each week, very, very short email, okay? Then, of course, we always do surveys. We have our parents surveying to see what they want to do for and within that school, because that's their school. We always keep reminding parents that they are not our clients, that they are our parents. They are vitalness to the school. So we continue to do that. And the administration helps us to make sure that that message is very clear. Then, once we decide on the project, we brainstorm, but we brainstorm in groups through parents, through parent groups. And when I say that, guys, these groups are led by the parents. And what they do is, we talk about, guys, what is your interest? What will you do? And with that, trying to explain what that looks like. The two pictures that you're seeing up there, that was our project 2. That was our last project. And that project was called a Parent Community Awareness Day. So what the parents had decided to do, they thought that they could do a culminating activity with the children within the school and staff and community. We thought we could do some type of an activity that would, number one, showcase the parents who are actually in the classes, so that I heard someone say the non-enrolled parents. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to help children, but they also wanted to showcase to the non-enrolled parents so that they too can get involved in what the projects are. So the brainstorming took place. The parents decided that they wanted to share at the end of the break. They wanted to share books, they wanted to share clothing, and they wanted to make sure that every child left with some type of a little energy bag, but inside of that energy bag maybe a sandwich, something to drink, a bar, candy bar, whatever. So in order to brainstorm in their groups, one group led the food group, okay? So they had to contact these people. They contacted the Clark County School District, first of all, food service. They had to find out who the lead person was. They had to research and do that, because that's not just an easy or hard job either. But you have to do research, and you have to contact those people, and they had to make sure that they told those people exactly how many children they were serving and why they needed to serve them. They contacted 3 Square, is another food entity, and you know, they got the business done. They contacted Spread the Word Nevada, and got Gently Used the books to give out that evening, and it was 3 groups of them, and each group led the way. But when they finished, they had one project that was combined, and it was just an amazing evening, because at the end of the programming in the multipurpose room, then there were parents that had little candy canes that they would give to you if you would follow them to the parent center, which was right beside the multipurpose room. That was your exit ticket out the gate, that you would come through the parent center, receive gifts of clothing, jackets, and receive books and a little packet to take with you to eat. And then the next one, I'm gonna go faster, guys, seek project approval. We know that our parents lead all of this, but our parents have to make sure that the administrators within those 11 schools are on track, okay? So we have to make sure that the parents are those people who invite the administrators in, or those parents have meetings with the administration and they tell them of their plan, okay? So then they set up a framework. When this is framework, the time of the project, making sure that they are the contact to the administration, not us, right? And then we just assign the task. They assign the task as to who, or they volunteer the task to other parents. And then we create standardized communication, and that is through flyers or through text or through phone calls or through the administration, so that they can call and let everybody know within their school and their community of this great project that is about to explode and be the end of. And then, of course, we calendar regular meetings to ensure progress. So each week we're meeting, and guys, sometimes 2 and 3 days during the week, we meet for that one project to make sure that it is the greatest project on earth, and that it benefits all that's involved. I hope I didn't miss anything, because I decided to just go fast at the end. Okay?
Dr. Mathis, thank you so much.
That's the key.
Yeah, Dr. Mathis, Patricia and I were just sitting here talking about how much we love that we can feel every ounce of passion and energy that you have for this coming through this screen. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And I just wanted to say, for me personally, something that I always look at is how, through the investigation step, families are really identifying and working to help the community. But it's wonderful to hear that in certain situations, the community is out to support the program as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of that.
All right. Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Yeah. All right. And next, I would like to introduce Miss Christina. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Amanda. We are from Detroit, Southwest Solutions, and Patricia and Amanda have done a wonderful job, and so has the rest of my colleagues in describing the 6-step process. So I'll try to go quick on the remainder process that we do with the facilitator. Our main role here is to support and empower, and I want us to really focus on those 2 words, because those 2 things are very important when supporting our families to develop these family service learning projects. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so as a facilitator, our approach during the investigation process is mostly to make sure that our participants get to know each other at a very I wouldn't say in a personal level, but it's very important that they feel comfortable because they're going to be working during certain amount of time developing all these different steps, and in order to be successful and to create that harmony between a group, we need to make sure that as a facilitator, we make these resources available that they can build their relationship. So what we like to do, I like to first discuss is, something that I put together, and that was just basically to kind of like help, but NCFL does a great job making all these tools available on how to strengthen, seeing what the actual strengths are for each individual. So try to do activities so that they get to know each other prior. And then you can start by through the first process, which is the investigation. What we do is we create small size groups where the participants are given the opportunity to investigate their own community, see what their own needs are, and then they're encouraged to share it in a larger aspect. So first they work together individually, they get comfortable enough to do sharing among themselves, and then you have them go into a bigger talk so that all the group can decide on what the best idea for their project is. As a facilitator, you want to always, maintain that control. So that's what we do as a facilitator. We want to make sure that everybody's respectful to the ideas, and you want to basically just welcome all ideas as equal. And then I always consider using, the questions what, why, how to guide our discussion so that we can all decide, or they can all decide on what the best project is for everyone. And then once the agreement is reached, then the fun part starts, the planning and organizing. We used, as you can see in my sample, it's all in Spanish, and I obviously have used some of the material that NCFL has provided. I just went ahead and translated it for the purpose of the activity. And we have groups individually go through every single questions. And then once again, when we have them all share all at once, we have them comparing and reasoning into why they selected, how do they see this happening, and then just, getting into this big conversation so they can all agree. Can you move the next slide, please? And then I personally like to use the SMART goals. The reason I like to use our SMART goals, it's because it just sets the whole project into a more organized way. So plus, before I'm going to go through the bullets. So before starting to get to the hard planning, consider making the goals. Goal sheets helps everyone in the group have better grip and a better sense of commitment, and they have it all in writing. So that's something that you obviously want to use, because this is something that they can actually use in the future with their families. Using the SMART goals helps reiterate a life learning skill gained through their projects. So as you can see, this is also in English, and I just went ahead and translated out everything to Spanish so that because our participants are all Spanish speaking. So you have to basically cater to the needs of your own group, anything that can work to relate the message and help them, understand why we do certain things. You kind of like have to tweak around and just make it work for your group. Next slide, please. In the planning and organizing, again, we ask our participants to visualize, to look ahead. And as they're doing this, we like to have them ask themselves the question, what, when, where, how of the project, because then they may find that this is not what they want to do after answering the, the questions, because they don't have, enough time, they don't have the resources, they might not have what is needed to accomplish a project, and they might have to look back into changing the project. So it's very important for them to start visualizing how it's going to look, and then they can, at this point, start delegating some of the jobs or roles, responsibilities that each group or each person are going to have. On bullet point 2, we have them organize themselves based on their strengths and their commitment time. I like to always express the commitment time, because we have found through the projects that they have developed that sometimes our participants don't consider the level of commitment, or they're so passionate about something that they forget they have other commitments. So it's very important that you make them aware that if they commit to something, they need to come through. So I always, have them check their strengths and their commitments before they actually decide what area they're going to be charged of. And then we want to divide the group into different areas pertaining to the project, remembering that you let the participants decide, where exactly they want to be placed. And this is, again, based on their strengths. I don't decide for them. I have them take ownership of everything that they're going to be doing. And then once everybody knows their area, or their, where they're going to be placed in, then we have them write down their roles and responsibilities so that it is in writing, and they can come back if they have any questions or they forgot what they the responsibilities are. So what we normally do is we create a family service binder, which is left on site for them to actually go back and make any notes, and just keep a record of, who's going to be doing what. And if there are any changes, or if we need to rewrite these, we will do it, and it's handy to them. And then we follow up with everyone. It's very important that we are continuously following up, and that's another idea of why the binder is good to keep at everybody's site, so that we use this to follow up, and so that everybody doesn't forget what they're supposed to be doing. So we normally try to do that every time we meet. We look at, where are we at the moment. Can we move to the next slide, please? Amanda? Thank you. So this is an example of a project that was done over at Harms Elementary. And like this project, we had several. This particular school was very, very concerned with family engagement. So the participants thought of a great way to include literacy and get families engaged. So they created a book, Big Human Book. As we can see in the very low picture, these are the parents actually coming into the office on vacation time and bringing their kids, so they could be witness of, how these this big book, which was the mascot, was going to be representing their whole project. This whole project lasted a whole month, and during that whole month, every week, parents through a robocall were given an idea on how to work on science and family engagement. Every week as well, on Wednesday, which was the day that children were being dismissed early, they created stations within their school hallway, and every single station had educational, all STEM-based activities to welcome all the family, mom, dad, and the children, to spend 45 minutes working together with their children in STEM-based activities. And the rest of the pictures, for the rest of the picture, we have a family with son, very proud, included in the project. So another thing to mention, I want to reiterate that when you're working in the investigation process and the rest of the other steps, is very important to continuously be reminding our parents, how do we include our children? What are the learning behind all the single steps, and how do we see them? How do we see our children being participants of this learning process? So we like to continuously be reminding our parents that this is a family learning moment. Therefore, they're included, from the beginning, from step 1 all the way to step 6. Next slide, please. And the reflection, demonstration, and sustainability. I chose to put them all at once for commodity. But during this process, we just review, what the whole reflection of the project was, what it meant to them, what was useful, what do they think they're gonna continuously use, what did they learn, how could they make it better? So we go into this deep conversation about, what they learn, and what will they use to take for their next project. Again, demonstration and celebration, very, very similar. We always like to point out, because a lot of families, they always, for the most part, like to see, their mistakes. But I used, their mistakes into, this is a way of learning. So again, we're there to support and empower, and to make them see that, this is all a learning experience for everyone. And then we talk about how do we sustain what they did, how can, they continue on, not a legacy, but more to, how can they create another project around this one, or how do they just keep, alive what they just, finished doing. And I know that it's, and another project that we did, they started a anti-bullying campaign, which the parents did during the duration of when the program was there. So they created an anti-bullying for 2 years in a row. And again, every year that, that the anti-bullying campaign was completed, they were being asked and approached by the administration, by the staff, are you guys doing it, the following year? So it's building that confidence and that relationship, not only with the parents in their schools, but also with the school administration, the staff at the school, teachers, principal, and knowing that, they can continue sustaining their actual projects throughout the years to come. And I think that's it for Southwest Solutions.
Christina, thank you. I've been just floored listening to everyone's presentations today, but Christina, you brought up something that really kind of touched on something that I sometimes would forget to say as a facilitator, is really thinking about time commitment. Like, how long does it actually take to do something? And based on the other commitments I have in my life, do I have the time to put myself into that situation? So thank you for bringing that up and really highlighting that point.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had one question come in, and this one was for Christina. Christina, Katie would like to know if you would be willing to share planning materials that you've translated into Spanish.
Sure, no problem. I will do so. So if you can just make your email available, type it up, and then I will go ahead and copy it, and I'll make sure that you get these materials when the call is done.
Great, and we'll get that over to you, Christina. Okay. Well, as you can see, the slide on the background here is our conference. Conference is coming up from September 24th through the 26th in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Early bird registration is open now, and you can have early bird registration through July 1st. I'd also like to remind those of you who are thinking about submitting a proposal that proposals are due by March 1st. So we're looking forward to reading through all those proposals and seeing everybody presenting at conference. Thank you so much for today. And again, my name is Amanda Evans, and I'm joined by Patricia Lovett. This is our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us at any time, and we will see you on the next webinar.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
So much to all of our guests today. You guys you're great, and it's always a pleasure working with you.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks for having us. Take care.
Thanks.